Hi everyone, back again on the Unite Pieces channel, and today we will be narrating an action film, released in 2017, titled John Wick Chapter 2. Make sure you watch this video to the end. In John Wick Chapter 2, the legendary hitman John Wick, Keanu Reeves, is forced out of retirement again when he is called upon to repay a debt to Santino D'Antonio, Riccardo Scamarcio, a powerful Italian crime lord. Wick travels to Rome to fulfill his obligation to D'Antonio, but soon finds himself embroiled in a web of deceit and betrayal. After completing his task, D'Antonio double-crosses Wick and puts a $7 million bounty on his head, making him a target for every assassin in the world. Determined to clear his name and seek revenge, Wick fights his way through countless adversaries, including his former friend and fellow assassin Cassian, and ultimately faces off against D'Antonio and his army of mercenaries in a final showdown. And without further ado, let's get straight into the storyline of the film. The film opens with John Wick chasing after his stolen Ford Mustang, which was taken by Abram Tarasov. Brother of the late Viggo Tarasov, Abram alerts his men to be prepared to face John, but one of his henchmen belows John and suggests that they just give him the car. However, Tarasov warns his men that John Wick is not an ordinary killer but a man of focused commitment and sure will, who once killed 3 men with a pencil. Tarasov's men are warned not to underestimate John Wick, as he is highly respected in the criminal world due to his tenacity and skill. John manages to locate Tarasov's whereabouts and launches a violent attack, paralyzing all of Tarasov's men and damaging his beloved car. John spares Tarasov's life after he promises to leave him alone. John then buries all the things that remind him of his old life as a hitman and intends to lead a peaceful life as a widower. Aurelio, a car mechanic, comes to his house to repair the damaged car in the evening. John is visited by Santino D'Antonio, a crime boss who offers him a job in return for fulfilling an unbreakable bell that John had made with him. John didn't want to fulfill herself as he was retired already, so Santino decided to erase his house from the map. John survives the attack and seeks refuge at the Continental Hotel in New York City, seeking advice from Winston. He reminds John that if he rejects the marker, he will be violating 2 unbreakable rules of the underworld: no killing on Continental grounds and honoring every marker. John realizes that he has no other option but to fulfill the vow he had made with Santino. Santino wasted no time and got straight to business. He asked John to kill his own sister Gianna. Due to jealousy, Santino's father considered Gianna more worthy of the high table position after her father, who was the former head of their organization, died. Santino wanted to climb a seat at the high table, so he desired his sister's death. Santino appointed his bodyguard Ares to observe how John carried out the assassination. John went to a storage location to pick up some belongings and then traveled to Rome, where he stayed at the Continental Hotel branch. Jules, the hotel manager, warmly greeted him. He visited a tailor shop that specialized in designing bulletproof clothing for assassins. To locate Gianna, John visited a man to get a blueprint of her whereabouts to figure out the various access points in and out of the place where she was. John then visited a weapon shop and was recognized by the shopkeeper, who was familiar with the legend of John Wick. The shopkeeper knew what kind of weapons were suitable for John to carry out his mission. That night, John infiltrated Gia's coronation for her seat at the high table, confronted her in a dressing room. Knowing she had no way out, Gianna chose to take her own life by slitting her wrists when faced with certain death. John shot her in the head to fulfill the marker. As John was leaving the place, Gianna's bodyguard Cassian recognized him and realized that John had been sent to kill Gianna. Cassian attacked John and they engaged in a shootout. John managed to escape from Cassian and his henchmen and fled to the underground. However, Ares, the woman Santino appointed to keep an eye on John, double-crossed him in the underground. She and her bodyguards planned to kill John to tie up loose ends. However, after killing most of the bodyguards, John is pursued by Cassian. A fierce shootout ensues, bringing them to the lobby of the Continental Hotel, which, like the New York Continental, prohibits business on its grounds. John and Cash, in respect the hotel's rules, stop fighting and have a drink at the bar. John tells Cash and why he assassinated Gianna, despite knowing that Santino is responsible for her death. Although Cassian promises to give John a quick death as a sign of professional respect, he still intends to kill him. The next day, John prepares to check out of Rome's Continental Hotel and return to New York City. Meanwhile, Santino offers a $7 million contract to high-profile assassins around the world to avenge his sister's death. Winston asks for a blood oath from Santino Lee declines, stating that John will be killed when he returns to New York. Winston warns Santino that he has betrayed John and has made a big mistake. He tells Santino that John is now free of the marker and will come back for revenge. Despite repeated warnings, Santino remains confident that John will not be able to kill him. John arrives in New York City and immediately becomes a target of assassins trying to claim a $7 million bounty on his head. He is a high-profile assassin himself, so killing him isn't an easy task for his enemies. While walking on the streets, John faces multiple attacks but manages to kill his attackers using his skills and weapons. He even engages in a gun battle with an assassin in a subway station and defeats him using a pencil. He walks through the subway and suddenly meets Cassian. They then get into a brutal hand-to-hand fight and John eventually stabs Cassian in the aorta with a knife. Cassian's destiny remains unclear. After sustaining serious injuries, John seeks help from a beggar who guides him to an underground crime boss known as the Bowery King. The Bowery King's men treat John's injuries and he asks for their help in finding Santino, the man who put the bounty on his head. John explains that if Santino gets a seat at the high table, the Bowery King will lose his resources and control over his underground networks. The Bowery King realizes the truth in John's works and decides to help him out. John is in a precarious situation. He only has a weapon with 7 bullets, but he has obtained information about Santino's whereabouts. Without delay, he heads to the museum where he begins to slaughter Santino's men after chasing Santino through the museum and killing his henchmen. John faces off with Ares, Santino's mute security enforcer, and a brutal hand-to-hand fight that ultimately ends with Ares' death. Unfortunately, Santino manages to escape to the Continental, believing that he will be safe from John's wrath due to the rule that no killing can occur within the Continental. However, John eventually arrives at the Continental covered in blood and wounds and demands to know where Santino is. Sharon reluctantly tells him, but Winston warns John not to act rashly and kill Santino. Inside the Continental, Santino appears relaxed and confident, enjoying his meal, but John is sick of him and decides to ignore the warnings and kill him anyway.
Just walk away. Walk away.
After killing Santino, John leaves the Continental and goes to his old house where he reminisces about the beautiful memories he shared with his wife. The next day, Sharon needs John and takes him to a park to meet Winston. John has broken the rules of the Continental and it's time for him to face the consequences. Winston informs him that the value of the contract to kill John has been doubled and offered globally as a further consequence of killing Santino on Continental grounds. According to the High Table, Winston declares John the 10th Communicado, terminating all his access and privileges to underworld resources. John points out that everyone around them right now is an assassin who is ready to kill him, but Winston delays in announcing John's excommunication by 1 hour to give him a head start. Winston also provides him with a marker for future use. John then tells Winston to inform everyone that he will kill whoever comes to kill him, to which Winston replies, "Of course you will." After that, John leaves with his dog and Winston makes a call to activate John's excommunicado in 1 hour. As the contract is activated, cellular phones begin to ring all around him. John begins to run. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and hit the like button to help us out.